Welcome back to Hold the Light Garage. My name's Steve, and we are going to continue on this Caddy. Today, we're going to get some suspension work done, some brakes. When I say today, this video, I guess is what I mean, because it's going to take more than one day to get all this cleaned up, airbags in, brakes on, eventually get the motor mounts in, and looking good. So let's go check it out. Just to give you a quick overview, these are the parts that we're going to start installing. Well, maybe not all of them. We're not going to get to the compressors and the tank, but the front brake kit, front ABS power brakes, and the air ride kit with front shock relocations, everything from Cash's Candy Classics. And I don't think I need to say this, since I think at the time of this recording I have 51 followers. None of this is paid sponsorship. I paid for everything out of my pocket. So I just want to do an install video, give a review on how everything's going with it, and see how it goes. I've never done air ride before, so this is a first for me, so we're going to learn together. So let's go. Let's go ahead and get the suspension torn down, get the wheels off, get the springs and shocks out. Okay, I just need to reposition the camera there, and we will get this all torn apart. And then from here, we will compress this coil spring, which I made a tool. So got a plate at the bottom, long threaded rod, just hardware store parts. We'll feed this up through here. As you can see, it is way too long. If I was smart, I would cut it down. But I don't really feel like doing that right now, so we're just gonna take an hour or more. Okay, after a little modifying, I cut this down shorter, and I got this set up so the plate is holding that spring, holding the tension on it. This coupler threads really don't want to thread very good. The nut threaded well, but I like the idea of the coupler having more contact surface with the threaded bolt. I feel like it's less likely to strip out if it's holding on that much instead of only holding on that much. So we'll just fight with it a little bit. So the whole idea here is this is going to hold that spring from blowing out of here, because springs hold a lot of energy, and that'll be really dangerous. There we go. It's out. It's loose. So we can go ahead and slowly loosen up our tool here and let this coil spring tension off. Let's give it a little love tap. Just like that, the spring is out. As you can see, that spring holds a lot of tension, a lot of stored energy. So now we'll go ahead and get these upper and lower control arms off. We'll move to the other side. Okay, from here, I'm going to take a minute, clean up my tools, organize the bolts, take a look at everything, and then we'll get started on the other side. Be right back. Okay, ready to move on to the other side. I'm not going to sit here and film this all the way through. I'm just going to throw on time lapse. We already saw we did the one side, so here we go. Okay, that time lapse was over and we got that driver's side all torn down, frame stripped, and then my battery died. So while my phone was charging, I got the sway bar off, the steering linkage, everything out, the steering box removed. There was some throttle linkage here and some heater parts up there. So a lot more stripped down. Now I can just go through, get the frame cleaned up, get the control arms cleaned up, frame painted. I need to cut a notch in here for engine clearance. I don't know if we'll do that right now or not, but there we are. Much closer, good progress today. And hopefully after getting this frame cleaned up and painted, we can get this all back together here pretty quick. So thanks for watching. Of course, I was getting ready to go take off and head home. And I thought, you know what? Let's see how this cleans up. I'm curious how well it cleans up. So I'm going to use this SCT tool again that I've used in the past, like in the trunk that you've seen. So see if we can take some of this off and clean it up. It's working, but I could probably use something a little more aggressive. Maybe I'll just go to a flap disc or something like that, but we'll see. Let's try this wire wheel on the grinder and see how it works. A new day here and working on this front frame section again. As you can tell, I got it a lot more cleaned up. It's cleaned up really nice. I mean, for a 70-year-old frame, there's barely any pitting, if any at all. So one thing I need to do before I start getting this final prepped and painted, so I can get the air ride on, is I need to get this notch installed here on the front crossmember. We'll cover this a little more detail later, but basically that's the notch for the engine. It came with my motor mounts, and so I went ahead and marked that out. I'm going to get that cut and get that welded in, and then from there we can do some final cleaning and get this in primer and paint. I started cleaning up the control arms a little bit. I didn't take much video because it's boring. Letting them soak in the parts washer, and then hit them with the wire wheel on the drill. So let's keep moving. Okay, I got the notch out of the cross member done. I cleaned it up inside because it was full of grease and dirt and everything. So my cuts aren't perfect. I should have got a better cutoff wheel, as you can see down here. But I can fill it, weld it, make it solid. It'll look good. So I'm going to get some primer in here so that this can be protected for future. And then we'll get tack welded in place. Well, I haven't filmed too much of the cleanup process on these control arms because, for honestly, it's just boring. They were sitting in a parts washer. I hit them with the wire wheel. They're much better than they were. They're not perfect, but they'll be okay. So I am going to give them a coat, a couple coats actually, of this chassis saver. I'll do maybe a quick time lapse, but like I said, it's boring, so no one wants to sit here and watch paint dry. So let's get at it. All right, here's the first coat. They look really good already. This is more of a satin, I think, so they're probably gonna dry a little with not so much gloss, but they look really good. This stuff is some crazy thick. Well, it's not thick, but it's, you can just tell it's gonna be hard when it's done. So, you know, they say to wear all your PPE, so I had my gloves on and arms covered and everything because they say it doesn't come off your skin. So just a heads up, but yeah, this is looking great. And then we'll wait for a couple hours and we'll put a second coat and probably go a third coat, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, until later. Okay, I'm back here with this frame. I just wanted to show a little progress. I've got the notch welded in for the engine, the 5.3 swap, and I've got the frame all cleaned up, ground down, smooth, so it's ready for primer and paint. So my next step is to get the car covered up, taped off. We'll do the firewall later, and get some wax and grease remover all over the frame, get it clean and dry, and then we'll start shooting some primer. So I'll throw it on time lapse. Now ready for paint and primer. So I've got it all taped up. I just taped the entire car up. I've got these Porter's disposable plastic car covers, and then everything's cleaned up with grease and wax remover. So I'll come back tomorrow, do my primer and paint on the frame, and then over the weekend I can start putting the suspension back on. So we're getting really close. Okay, I'm back in the shop this morning, and we're ready to throw some primer and paint on this front frame so we can get the suspension together. So we're going to start out using the Spray Max 2K epoxy primer, and then we're going to move on to the Spray Max 2K Hot Rod Satin Black. So never used this before. I'm not a painter. I have a friend that's a painter. He suggested this for me, so thanks, Chris. Don't forget your respirator and some gloves. But I'm throwing on time lapse, and let's put some color down. Well, there's 2 coats of primer. We're ready for some color. Should be flashed off at this point, and ready for some black. So let me get that mixed up, put you back in time lapse, check in when we're done. And there it is, all painted. Looks good. Is it perfect? Nope. Does it need to be perfect? Nope. Is it black? Yes. That's all I needed. Just want it to look decent. It's a driver. It's not a rotisserie restoration. I don't want it perfect. I'll never want to drive it. So I like this paint, works good. You just pop out that little activator button after you shake it up. Release the activator, I guess it would be the catalyst. Shake it up some more and spray it. I took 2 cans of primer and 2 cans of the satin black. So now we can start putting suspension on this thing. And that's what I'm excited for. Till next time. Back at it this morning. This is the day I've been looking forward to, getting this front suspension back on, the new brakes on. So let's just jump right into it. Let's start getting the bags ready, getting the control arms on and all the new brakes on. Let's do it. So we're going to start out getting the bags ready to go in the car. I think I mentioned in the past, this is my first time ever dealing with airbags. So bear with me here because I'm learning as we go. And if I made a mistake and you notice it, please drop in the comments below. Let me know I'm doing it wrong. But from what I can tell, this is what I need to be doing. So they have all the information on these bags, and they talk about using a torque value of 15 to 20 foot-pounds in these mounting bolts. So we are going to go ahead and do that. It's about 15 pounds, which isn't very much, but that's what they're calling for. Easier said than done when it moves around on you. There's one. There's 2. So that's the lower bracket. That's going to sit in the bottom control arm. In the upper bag here we have our air fitting. We're going to run a straight fitting on this one so it can go up and out. It's already got the tape on it. And it says on this one just to get it tight. We'll go grab the right size wrench. Be right back. All right, got the correct size wrench. So we'll go ahead and get this fitting started on top of the bag. And then we'll set this aside and get our top hat installed. So what we're going to use is this threaded rod, and we're going to double nut this, and we're going to add some Loctite. We don't want this one coming loose. So this is what holds the top side of the bag up in place, up by where the shock mount used to be. Or actually is where the shock mount from the factory was, the top shock mount was. So I'm going to use a little red Loctite here because I do not want this coming loose. Okay, well we're going to have to play some games here to get that thread in there all the way. We're going to throw a couple nuts on top here. It helps to drive it in. Since I can't get a wrench down inside there, we will do it up here. And just like that, we're getting it threaded in. I think there was some powder coat or something there, probably stopping it from going in really good. But there we go. Now it's bottomed out. We'll take our double nuts here off. And this might be overkill having double nuts down here too. I don't know. Like I said, it's my first air ride. Maybe it's not that much pressure on this, but it doesn't hurt. Okay, so now we're going to bolt this up here like so. And these are just little 3/8 by 3/4 bolts. That's what it calls for on the bag. 5/8 to 5/8 to 7/8, so I did 3/4. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but this is how this will look now. And this will slide up into the old shock mount. So now I just need to cut a piece of airline, get that fitting in here, and then we can bolt it in the car. So I'll meet you at the car. So I've got my bag assembly here. As you can see, I cut some airline to go in there as well. They recommend about a 14 inches, what a lot of people said they do, but I wanted to have my first connection right here where I can access it really easy. It's like 24 inches. I just made sure to cut both sides at the same time because you want them even so you don't get a funky drop from side to side, since they're all 4 individual valves. If you have lines that are unequal length, they'll drop funny. So just something to think about. And I also think I'm probably going to add some fuel line over this just so it doesn't chafe. But we're gonna fit it first and see if we need it. Go ahead and fish this up there. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit of fuel line to cover this, just so it doesn't get all chafed and wear a hole through it. Like I said before, I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but to me it makes sense to protect that airline, because last thing you want to do is be on the road and get a hole in your line. The next thing you know, you're driving down the road at aired out level. So better safe than sorry in my opinion, but like I said, I'm sure there's a million ways to do this. So as you can see, I just got this piece of fuel line, slides right over it. And we'll fish it back up here again. Yeah, I like that a lot better. We'll get our bolt started so it's hanging here. Now we can throw the control arm on. We'll start with this lower right here. I did go with all new hardware on these, just the old ones were, the rust had taken over on the threads. And there's a lot of missing rusted thin bolts, so we're not going to take our chances. We're just going to do it right the first time. So there's the first arm on. Now to get the upper in place. Just needs a little encouragement. I think we all do sometimes, right? There it goes. Okay. Again, we'll come back and figure that out later. Now that we have those upper and lower control arms in, the bag in, we can start working on this brake setup. Again, I mentioned before, this is, I think it's ABS Power Stop or ABS Brakes, some company out of California that I picked up the brake kit from. So there is this spacer that goes on, and then this bracket. I gotta figure out which side is which. It appears to be this one for this side. So we'll put this on, and there's a very detailed install of this kit, or a very similar kit, on the internet already. So I'm not going to go through step by step on this. But if you need a good write-up on doing these brakes detailed, Corvette Ben. I know it's Corvette, not Cadillac, but Corvette Ben on Facebook has a really good write-up on this brake install. So I highly recommend checking him out. I know I've used his videos quite a bit, and he's a great resource. There it is. But these disc brakes in this car will be so nice. Not that the drum brakes couldn't do what they needed to do. It just, I like the feel of the disc brake. I know there's a lot of people out there that say you don't need them, but it's not their car. And let me check this out. Be right back. All right, well, I found my issue. I completely forgot about this lower steering arm. So once this bolts on, this spacer makes up that difference. So that's what I was missing. So something didn't seem right. Just wanted to check on it. Let me get that tightened up, and we'll start packing bearings. Now that the bearings are greased and I got this oil seal in the hub and rotor here, we'll go ahead and put this into position here. Get this other bearing here. I just know I'm going to make a mess. It's just going to happen. No way around it. Get this other bearing in here. Lots of grease. Wipe off any excess, but grease is good. Keep you going down the road. And then we'll get our castle nut on here. The grease is not helping this go on. Let me go grab a adjustable real quick. All right. Get this on, not tight, just on here, and let the threads clean up a little bit. And then I like to get it hand tight. And then give it a little more, especially on brand new bearings. And then we gotta line up our cotter pin. Back it off just a hair so I can line this up. Just wanting to fight with me. There we go. Now, if I would have been smart, I would have grabbed my needle nose pliers. I've got some right here. we go. Now let's get this dust cap on. And then we can move to the other side. For some reason this doesn't want to fit. I think it has something to do with this counter pin. So alrighty, on to the next side. Jumping ahead of myself here. I put the dust cap on, I'm like, on to the other side. Well, this is really good to have this on and spinning nice, but without a caliper here, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good, does it? So, let me grab the correct caliper here. So this one is for the right side. And the big thing you want to look at here, oh, this is not correct. Let me see something here. Yes, this is right. So the big thing is you could probably mount this bracket to the calipers in the front or the back. But one thing you want to watch for is where this bleeder screw is. So this bleeder screw is at the bottom. You can never get the air out of the caliper. So no matter how much you bleed it, it won't come out. So always make sure your bleeder's at the top. And just like that, it's on. I just need to go get an Allen wrench. I should have grabbed that ahead of time. Go grab an Allen wrench, we'll get that tightened up. So after digging through the toolbox here, looks like a 3/8 Allen is where we need to be. So let's get these started. And get them tightened down. One thing I didn't do, which I like to do, is spray some brake clean on these rotors, just so any oil and stuff that came for shipping doesn't get embedded in your pads. So before I put the wheel on, I'll make sure I spray that down and wipe it down a little bit so we don't have that issue. Obviously, I'm not going to worry about brake lines yet because we're not that far along. Wait till we get the master cylinder and the firewall work done. We'll come back and do brake lines. But here we go. We've got brakes. So I'm going to get this rotor cleaned up, put the wheel back on, and we're going to jump to the other side. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Got everything back together in the front suspension. Obviously, got to do shocks yet, but bags are in, brakes are on, wheels are on. It's aired out, sitting pretty low. I'm sure it'll probably sit lower, possibly when, I don't know, I'm pretty close to bottomed out, but once the engine's in. But let's go ahead and put some air to it. Let's see it go up. There you go. And back down again. I think it'll be faster once I'm not going through a straighter valve. It's a little slower going down, but... And when there's more weight on it, it'll probably go faster too, but... And back up again. Just because I can. There we go. I like it. Well, that's a wrap on this episode. We got a lot done. Frame cleaned up, painted, suspension on, new brakes on. Got to go see the front end go up and down. Pretty exciting. So now we'll move on to the rear suspension, and hopefully we can see that here soon, and then get on this engine. So check back next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.